Yes, yes. Welcome to the ancient world of tabletop games. I am Agamemnon from the historical documentary Time Bandits. This is a report from a fugitive. Would you buy a game just for the pieces? Although this pack-rat mentality is far more likely in a veteran gamer, there's a perfectly good reason for a beginner's turning off the path into deeper woods in search of great rewards. Don't disappear into the mire or stop off at a gingerbread house if you stray from the beaten track. With cost being a major factor, the rookie gamer wants to build up a goodly stock of gaming bits and pieces without throwing away one kidney and half a liver to pay for a world's supply of tokens, counters and cubes. Buying a game becomes a twofold exercise. Purchase a board game for the game, but also use the loot from that box in another game. The best example I could think of was Dungeons & Dragons. As far as the 5th edition goes, the easiest route to playing D&D is the starter box. This isn't the starter box, but a boxed set of the full rules, packaged with a screen. You don't need the main rules to begin with. This starter kit here will do you. Just this, and a quick skim of online resources from the official D&D site for a few downloadable files, perhaps. Do you need anything else? A starter box, paper, pencils, and that's it. The box comes with a set of dice. For unfathomable reasons, it also contains a pointless cardboard insert. Perhaps that's just a way of training beginners and teaching them the folly of game companies everywhere. Pointless cardboard inserts have a point, damn it. No one ever discovers the exact nature of that point, but there is one. It's an ultra-fine pastel pink nanoprint at the end of every board game rulebook. And that is a board gaming fact. A role-playing game like D&D can be played out with description alone. You might run the game using sketch maps for battle scenes. Beyond this, you can employ figures and floor plans, which almost sounds like an RPG. Played 2nd edition figures and floor plans last week. Graphics are an improvement over 1st edition. Fought a giant mini. The starter kit for D&D is all you need for D&D. But you'll want more. Figures. The selection, purchase, assembly and painting of figures for gaming? Hell, there's a hobby all by itself. For unknown reasons, there's a dividing line concerning the painting of figures. Metal miniatures are always painted. Plastic figures needn't always be painted. If you have a vast army of orcs in green plastic, you could paint numbers on the figure bases to differentiate them and leave the figures themselves untouched, for example. When Orc 33 takes a bajillion damage, everyone knows it. Regardless of the type of figure employed, you'll end up spending an ungodly amount of cash, time and effort building a collection of tiny weapon-wielding people and monsters. Cost, storage and transportation are the main problems that never go away if you commit to using figures in an RPG. The tricky topic of lead in miniatures was pretty much sidelined with advances in production methods for plastic and resin figures. Older metal collections with higher lead content needn't concern us. No one is selling those cheaply. So how do you build up a collection of D&D figures without breaking the bank? You don't. The end. Thanks for listening. Just play that game using your imagination and a battle mat with erasable pens. I can confirm playing an RPG using a chessboard and chess pieces to stand in for various dungeon rooms when a group of players just got into the hobby. There was no delay in playing the game. Let's do this. We go now. Playing the game and enjoying the banter, those players found the next step was to head out into the wilderness to a game shop in search of basic boxes of miniatures, and you'll find plenty of starter sets of figures out there. Use your imagination if you can't afford the loot. I use the terms figures and miniatures interchangeably. The American usage of minis for miniatures dominates the landscape. On the other side of the Atlantic, figs stood in for figures. There's still an English company going called Miniature Figurines or Minifigs, having the best of both ways. Let's discuss loot. If you want to play D&D board games as well as the RPG, then there are plenty to choose from. I didn't buy these games just for the loot, I bought them for the games. So there is an option for a hybrid view here. For the rookie, you'll want to buy a game and then decide to plunder the pieces for use elsewhere. Congratulations, you've started on the path to stepping off the path into deeper, richer territory. One of these games, pick one, I'll wait, serves as a decent source of figures for use in a game of D&D. You buy a game and find yourself borrowing bits and pieces for use elsewhere. But this video asks a more severe question. Do you ever buy a game just for the loot? Rarely, but yes. When major bargains surfaced, I pounced. Here's the first example. This is 504, and I bought it for my channel when the price crashed. I waited quite a while for this game to nosedive in price, but I had a feeling it would. It's one of those items I only bought for the channel. Wouldn't have bothered otherwise. And I bought it solely for the loot, not for use in gameplay videos about the game itself. Here are game bits and pieces I'll use in videos, I decided. And I've used a few of these components in my video on Choose Your Own Adventure fighting fantasy games. Why wouldn't I buy this game for the game itself? It's a game described as a game designer's game. The rules are divided into 3 sections from top to bottom in this spiral-bound flip book. Flip a few pages here, there, and you've created game number 666 out of 504 combinations. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Oh, very well, game 69 then. I found game 505 more useful. Ditch the flip book and use the bits for your own purposes, rather like throwing the expensive toy away and turning the large game box into a time machine. But cheering you on from the sidelines, Spaceman Spiff. Clearly I won't deny a monumental effort went into creating 504 games out of one very intensely thought-out rulebook. But for the slashed price, I only wanted the meeples and counters and bears, oh my. This game is a toolkit for game designers, true, but it also serves as a toolkit for illustrating gameplay examples for other games using all these bits and pieces. Right now I am staring at the game online, and the cheapest I see it going for is a highly pricey song of just under £70, and that's an out-of-stock listing. Don't hold your breath. I pounced when the stars were right and Aldebaran lay in bed with Jupiter. Wait, there's a damaged copy going for under £60, but that's before adding postage from the back end of the moon to a kitchen table near you. That game is not worth that price. It serves as one example of buying a game purely for the loot, and the purchase was for use on this channel. I can think of another example. Buying a game to use as a game and to employ the loot from that box in other games, that's one thing. It's also the main thing. The gaming hobby is expensive, and you'll find yourself reusing or repurposing a lot of items. Why? Okay, cheapness factors into it, but you'll have your reasons beyond the icy grip of cold hard cash on a cold hard gaming heart. If you play a great game that has basic tokens in it and those tokens aren't visually friendly to colorblind players, reach into another game for tokens that are. Will those tokens be wildly inappropriate? Hell yes. Is that part of the fun? Abso-fucking-lutely. Dogs and small babies are obliged by law to chew through your cardboard counters. Find temporary replacements from other boxes. For the counters, I mean. What you do about the dogs and small babies is a separate issue. You'll accidentally flip a token into the air and a room full of players won't see where the token landed. Even inventorying everything as you move house won't uncover the missing piece, so make do. It's shocking to discover the truth. Game companies occasionally throw in extra pieces by mistake. Really good game companies add extra pieces as a matter of policy. Use these extra tokens. But, to return to that other example, an opportunity came my way. Discounted loot. I snapped the deal up, but not for the games. I bought these for the maps, and I used the maps in other games. In researching this piece, I checked on availability of these games. By availability, I mean price. These board games gained a new lease of life, revamped by a French company called Historic One. An updated, consolidated siege-type game, The Anarchy, came out in 2015, and at this short distance, staring at prices in 2018, I see it selling for over £70. Many of these games are going for around that mark, whether used or unused. We'll call that the average cost. A few games demand higher prices. Well, that's a mere demand. The sky's the limit, though. Is Viking Raiders really worth over £200, used or unused? Not this copy. This one came with double the game counters by accident. If that makes it a rarity, it's worth far more to anyone who places that value on these games. Not me. For the average price of one of these games now, I bought all of these games, including postage and the price. Far more importantly, I had my use out of the maps. I bought these games for the loot. You may find yourself doing the same. How? Keep an eye out for a bargain. I don't mean indulge in necrophilia by haunting the homes of tottering wargamers, hoping to pick up great deals from their estates when the last post sounds off. Consider your requirements. Spend wisely. Use what you buy. And, as always, make room for storage. If you haven't the room to store anything or transport a damn thing, store the game in your imagination as you play. That's the lightest form of transportation available. Now I'll rip my arms off putting these back where they came from. It's not the weight, it's the bulk. Hell, it's not even the bulk. It's the thought of dropping a game and watching cardboard counters avalanche in slow motion to the wail of 1,000 alarms, or worse than that, dropping piles of boxes and disappearing in a blizzard of cardboard. I'll be under the worst of it when the dust settles, I'm sure.